Sleeping with your brother was just physical. I swear I love you. My wife screamed when I caught her in our bed with him. Days later, she sued me for emotional damage and made my parents her witnesses. Now I realize I have more enemies than I ever imagined. When I opened the bedroom door that Friday afternoon, the flowers slipped from my hand before I even realized it. My wife, Paula, was in our bed with my younger brother, Javier. For a moment, the world went silent. She tried to cover herself and whispered, "It's not what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like, and that moment burned everything I thought I knew about love, family, and loyalty. My name's Nicholas. I'm 34 years old, and a few months ago, I thought my life was going well. I work as a systems engineer. I have a decent house and was married to Paula, 33, for 6 years. We had been together for 9 years, and although we weren't the perfect couple, I believed our relationship was solid. She was fun, charismatic, always knew how to brighten the day. But all that went down the drain. One Friday afternoon, I came home earlier than usual, wanting to surprise Paula. I had bought wine, things to cook, something nice, and some flowers. Lately, we had been a bit disconnected. She said it was because of her job at an advertising agency, and I blamed it on my schedule. Nothing serious, I thought. Just the routine of a marriage. I parked, went inside, and noticed the house was silent, too silent. Normally, Paula had music on or was talking on the phone, but that day there was nothing. I went upstairs calling her name. She didn't answer. When I opened the door to our bedroom, my world collapsed. There was Paula in our bed with my younger brother, Javier. I don't need to describe the scene, but believe me, they weren't playing cards. Javier, 30, was always the family favorite, a lawyer, charismatic, the one who never did anything wrong. Seeing him there with my wife was like a punch to the gut. "What is this?" I yelled, my voice trembling. Paula covered herself with the sheet, as if that would change anything. Javier froze, looking for his clothes with the face of a trapped idiot. "Nicholas, it's not what it looks like," she began, with that voice she used to convince me of anything. "It's not what it looks like." I cut her off. "You're with my brother in our bed? What part of this don't I understand?" Javier tried to intervene. "Brother, wait, can I explain?" "Don't call me brother," I said, taking a step toward him. I wanted to hit him, but I held back. I don't know how. Maybe because I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing me out of control. Paula started crying, saying it was a mistake, that she didn't want to hurt me, but her words sounded fake, as if she were acting. I couldn't stay there. I went downstairs, grabbed my phone, and called Cesar, my friend and lawyer. "Come to my house now," I told him. "This is serious." While I waited, I sat in the living room looking at the pictures of our wedding on the wall. Each one was a lie. Paula came down later with red eyes trying to talk. "Nicholas, please, let's talk. It was a mistake. I swear." "Shut up," I told her coldly. "I want you to leave. Now." She didn't move. She kept whimpering, but I ignored her. Javier had already escaped through the back door like the coward he is. When Cesar arrived, I told him everything. He didn't hesitate. "This is grounds for a divorce, Nico," he said, taking notes. "But we need proof. If you want, I'll start right away." I nodded. I wanted to end this, but I also wanted them to pay for what they did. I went to a hotel that night. I couldn't sleep in that house. No, not after what I saw. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Messages from Paula asking for forgiveness, saying she loved me. Then came the ones from my parents, Luis and Patricia. They didn't ask how I was. They didn't support me. Instead, they wrote things like, "Don't be hard on Javier. He didn't mean to, and Paula is a good person. Maybe it's a misunderstanding." That was a low blow. It was always like that. Javier, the untouchable one. I, the older one, always had to give in, but not this time. I was fed up. The next morning, I officially hired Cesar. I asked him to investigate everything. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted Paula not to get away with it. What I didn't expect was for her to make the next move. Not only did she deny everything, but she sued me for emotional damages. According to her, I was a controlling, negligent husband who pushed her to seek comfort with someone else. And the worst part, my parents were on her list of witnesses, saying that I was a bad husband, that I didn't pay attention to Paula, that I had neglected her. When Cesar showed me the lawsuit papers, I couldn't believe it. I was in his office with the documents in my hand, feeling like everyone had betrayed me. My wife, my brother, my parents. But in the midst of the anger, something ignited in me. I wasn't going to let them win. Cesar, destroy them, I told him. Get everything you can. He smiled. Give me a few days. We're going to make them regret this. I moved into a small apartment. I couldn't stay in that house, not with those memories. Every night was hell. Thinking about how I got to this point. I remembered the moments with Paula when I thought we were happy. But then the images of her with Javier would come back, and the fury returned. One night, my mother wrote me a long message full of excuses. She said Javier was sorry, that Paula was devastated, that I should forgive for the sake of the family. I deleted it without replying. I had nothing to say to them. A few days later, Cesar called me. Nico, come to the office. I found something big. When I arrived, he showed me videos from the security cameras at my house. I had installed them last year after a robbery in the neighborhood, but I never thought I'd use them like this. The videos showed Paula and Javier coming and going when I wasn't home. It wasn't just once, it had been going on for months. Each video was like a knife, but it was also power. Cesar also checked our joint accounts. Paula had spent thousands on hotels, restaurants, gifts, all with our money for her affair with Javier. With this, we don't just win the divorce, Cesar said. We can countersue, emotional damages, theft, perjury. We are going to crush them. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like relief. It wasn't happiness, but the certainty that I had the upper hand. Paula thought she could manipulate everything, paint me as the bad guy, but she didn't know who she was messing with. I decided not to confront them. I wanted them to believe they had control, that they were winning, that they should file their lawsuit, call my parents, build their lies. I had the evidence, and when the time came, I would use it to bring them down. I settled into a small apartment, a lifeless place with cheap furniture and empty walls. It wasn't a home, just a place to sleep. Paula kept sending me messages full of pleas and excuses. I love you, Nicholas, we can fix this. It was a mistake, it meant nothing. I read them without replying, saving them as proof of her audacity. Javier didn't have the guts to write to me. My parents, on the other hand, wouldn't stop. My mother called me one afternoon with that voice she used to make me feel guilty. Nicholas, we need to talk, she said. We are your family. You can't cut everyone off over this. Over this. I replied, gripping the phone. I found my wife with my brother. Mom, what do you want me to do? Invite them over for dinner. She sighed as if I were the problem. Javier is sorry, and Paula says you weren't there for her. Maybe if you had. I hung up. I couldn't listen anymore. I blocked her number and my father's. If they wanted to side with Paula and Javier, they had to own it. I had nothing to say to them. Cesar, my lawyer, was in attack mode. I met him in his office, a messy place that smelled of burnt coffee. He showed me a pile of papers, bank statements, receipts, and more videos from my house's cameras. Each one was another piece in the puzzle against Paula. Look at this, he said, pointing to a statement. Paula spent almost $10,000 in 6 months. Hotels, restaurants, an expensive watch that isn't in your house. Guess who's wearing it in the videos? Javier, I said, my stomach churning. Bingo. And there's more. I found emails Paula sent to a friend talking about her getaways with Javier. They didn't bother to hide it. How did you get the emails? I asked. Cesar smiled. I have a friend who knows how to find things. All legal. Don't worry, this gives us the advantage. He explained the plan, to let Paula proceed with her emotional damages lawsuit. She and her lawyer, a guy who looked like he wanted to close the case quickly, claimed I was controlling, that I had neglected her, that my cold attitude drove her into Javier's arms. My parents, as witnesses, backed up that story, saying I was too busy and that Paula deserved more. Reading that hurt like a knife, but it also gave me strength. Don't worry, Cesar said. We're going to let them get comfortable in court. We're going to destroy them. The preliminary hearing came weeks later. I walked into the courthouse with Cesar, feeling like I was in a nightmare. Paula was there, dressed as if she were going to a party with a victim's face. She didn't fool me. Javier didn't show up, hiding. My parents were sitting behind her, avoiding my gaze. Paula's lawyer gave an exaggerated speech, saying I was a negligent husband, that Paula had suffered emotional trauma because of me. Hearing it was absurd, but Cesar had told me not to react, so I stayed silent, though I was boiling inside. When it was our turn, Cesar was direct. He said the accusations were false and that we would be filing a countersuit for perjury and damages. The judge, a woman with a stern look, took notes and set the date for the main trial. On the way out, Paula approached me with teary eyes. "Nicholas, let's not make this bigger," she whispered. "We can fix it." "Fix it," I repeated, staring at her. "You started this, Paula. Now face it." I left without looking back. Cesar caught up to me, laughing. "That was perfect." You left her trembling. She knows she has nothing solid. Before the trial, I focused on work, trying not to think about what was coming, but it was impossible. Every night, I reviewed the videos, even though they tore me apart. Seeing Paula and Javier in my house acting as if I didn't exist was torture, but it also reminded me why I was fighting. Cesar called me one afternoon with more news. He had found Paula's contract with her advertising agency, where she promised exclusivity on a big project, but records showed she missed key meetings right when she was with Javier. That could cost her her job, and Javier, as a lawyer, was also in trouble. His firm could investigate him for unethical conduct. If this came to light, for a second, I felt sorry for him. Just a second. Then I remembered his face in my bed, and it passed. The day of the trial arrived. I put on a suit, although I felt like I was going to a funeral. The courtroom was packed. Paula and her lawyer in front, my parents behind, still not looking at me. Cesar was calm with a folder full of evidence. Paula's lawyer repeated his story. I was the bad guy, Paula the victim. They called my parents to the stand. My mother said I was always working, that I didn't give Paula time, that she was just looking for love. My father nodded, saying I was distant. Listening to them was like having a piece of me torn out, but I showed nothing. Cesar stood up calmly. He presented the camera videos, showing Paula and Javier entering and leaving my house. The room fell silent. Then he showed the bank statements, the emails, Paula's contract. Each piece of evidence was a blow. Paula's lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him. Paula was pale, looking at the floor. My parents looked uncomfortable for the first time. Cesar requested a countersuit for $50,000 for therapy, legal fees, and the money Paula spent from our accounts. The judge said she would review the evidence and issue a ruling later. On the way out, Paula didn't dare to look at me. My parents tried to approach, but I ignored them. I had nothing to say to them. That night in my apartment, I opened a beer and tried to calm down. I had won a battle, but the game wasn't over. I knew Paula and Javier would try something else, and my parents would probably continue defending them, but I had the evidence, and that gave me power. Cesar called me the next day. "Nico, we're close. Get ready because this is going to get good." I didn't know what was coming, but I was ready. Let them bring it on. I wasn't going to back down. The days leading up to the judgment were a silent hell. I kept busy with work, but my head wouldn't stop spinning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Paula and Javier in my house or my parents in court defending their lies. But I also remembered the evidence Cesar had gathered. Those images, those numbers, those emails were my weapon, and I was about to use them. Cesar kept me updated. He told me Paula's lawyer was desperate, trying to negotiate a settlement before the ruling. They wanted me to withdraw the countersuit in exchange for Paula dropping her emotional damages claim. Cesar laughed when he told me. "They're scared, Nico. They know the judge won't believe them after what we showed. Don't negotiate anything," I told him. "I want this to end in court. I want everyone to see who they really are." He nodded. "That's what I thought. We're going all the way." The day of the ruling arrived. I wore the same suit from the trial, though it now felt more like armor than formal wear. The courtroom was just as crowded, but this time the tension was different. Paula was sitting at the front with her head down, without her perfect makeup from before. Her shoulders seemed to carry the weight of her mistakes. My parents were there, but they didn't look at me. Javier, as always, was conspicuously absent. The judge entered, and the room fell silent. She got straight to the point. She said the evidence presented by my defense was overwhelming and irrefutable. The camera videos, the bank statements, the emails, everything proved that Paula had lied. Her claim for emotional damages was dismissed, but it didn't end there. The judge accepted my countersuit, awarding me $50,000 for therapy expenses, legal fees, and the money Paula had taken from our joint accounts. Furthermore, she warned that Paula's perjury could lead to criminal charges depending on what the prosecutor's office decided. When she mentioned the charges, Paula let out a sob. Her lawyer tried to calm her, but he looked defeated. My parents, sitting behind, looked at each other as if they finally understood the gravity of what they had supported. Cesar gave me a squeeze on the shoulder, whispering, "We did it, Nico. I left the courthouse with a strange feeling. It wasn't happiness, but relief mixed with emptiness. I had won, but at what cost? My marriage was destroyed, my family was broken, and the trust one once had in people had vanished. Outside, my parents tried to approach me. My mother, with red eyes, began to speak. "Nicholas, please, let's talk. We're your family. We didn't want this to." "Enough." I cut her off with a calm but firm voice. "You chose your side. There's no going back." My father tried to say something, but I turned and walked away. I didn't have the energy for more excuses. Cesar caught up with me in the parking lot. "You did the right thing, man. Now start rebuilding your life." But rebuilding wasn't so easy. In the following weeks, the consequences fell like dominoes. Paula lost her job at the advertising agency. It turned out her boss found out about the breached contract and the meetings she missed while she was with Javier. Additionally, she faced a perjury investigation that could cost her dearly. I heard rumors that she was living with a friend, neck deep in debt, without a cent of the luxuries she loved so much. Javier didn't get off scot-free either. His law firm launched an internal investigation into his conduct. As a lawyer, he knew that getting involved with his brother's wife was an ethical disaster. There was a risk he could lose his license, and his reputation was already in shambles. It gave me no satisfaction to know this, just a kind of cold justice. My parents kept trying to contact me. They left me messages, letters, even showed up at my work once, but I didn't respond. I couldn't. Every time I thought of them, I remembered how they sided with Paula and Javier, how they blamed me without hesitation. Maybe one day I can forgive them, but not now. Paula, for her part, didn't give up. A month after the ruling, she wrote me a long email full of digital tears. She said she was sorry, that she had made the worst mistake of her life, that she loved me and wanted a second chance. "Please, Nicholas, don't leave me like this. I'm alone. I have nothing." I read it, archived it, and didn't reply. There was nothing to say. She had dug her grave, and now she had to lie in it. With the money from the countersuit, I paid Cesar, covered the therapy sessions I had started, and put the rest in a savings account. Therapy helped a little, but it didn't erase the emptiness. Each session was like ripping off a scab. It hurt, but it made me feel a little more human. My therapist said I needed time to heal, but sometimes I wondered if I would ever trust anyone again. I moved into a better apartment, one with large windows and a view of a park. I started hanging out with friends I had neglected during my marriage. They didn't ask much, just join me for a beer or to watch a game. Little by little, I started to laugh again, although it wasn't the same. There was a part of me that remained in that house, in that bed where everything broke. One night, while having a coffee in my new place, I received a message from an unknown number. It was Javier. "Nicholas, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need to tell you I'm sorry. I was an idiot. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope one day we can talk." I read it and for a moment thought about replying, but then I remembered everything, the betrayal, the lies, the pain. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Now, months later, I'm in a strange place. Legally, I won. Paula and Javier are paying the consequences and my parents are out of my life, at least for now, but I don't feel like I've really won anything. My faith in family, in love, in relationships, is broken. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be able to love someone again without expecting a stab in the back. Maybe in time, as my therapist says, maybe. For now, I'm moving forward. I work, I hang out with friends, I try to build something new. I don't know what the future will bring, but one thing is clear, I'm not going to let anyone trample on me ever again.